Have you ever wondered why that morning coffee run feels less like a choice and more like a compulsion? Why you're in line, wallet ready, even after swearing yesterday was your last overpriced latte? It's not just caffeine addiction, it's something far more deliberate and disturbing. You're not just buying coffee, you're stepping into one of the most sophisticated behavioral manipulation systems ever designed. Every logo, seasonal drink, and friendly barista interaction is engineered to pull you deeper. And it's working exactly as intended. The numbers tell the story. The average American spends over $2,000 a year on coffee shops, often without realizing it. Studies show customers visit nearly 5 times per week, but swear it's only twice. That gap isn't coincidence. It's strategy. This isn't just about coffee. It's about billion-dollar corporations hacking your habits, manufacturing desire, and quietly draining your wallet under the guise of self-care. So let's start with the most obvious manipulation. The menu. Walk into any coffee shop and count how many drink options you see. 50? 70? 100? That's not variety. That's decision paralysis weaponized for profit. Behavioral economists call this the paradox of choice. When faced with too many options, people default to familiar patterns or expensive impulse decisions they don't carefully evaluate. They panic and grab something that sounds appealing in the moment. But here's where it gets really clever. Notice how the menu is organized. The most expensive drinks aren't hidden at the bottom. They're prominently displayed at eye level with mouth-watering descriptions and premium positioning. The medium-priced options are strategically placed to seem reasonable by comparison. And those basic, affordable choices? They're tucked away, often with less appealing names and descriptions. This isn't by accident. This is anchoring psychology. By showing you the $20 specialty drink first, that $12 seasonal latte suddenly feels like a bargain. You're not choosing based on what you actually want or need. You're choosing based on what feels reasonable compared to the most expensive option they have shown you. And let's talk about those seasonal drinks for a moment. Pumpkin spice, peppermint mocha, holiday cranberry, whatever. These aren't just flavors, they're manufactured scarcity designed to trigger fear of missing out. Limited time offers create artificial urgency. Your brain interprets temporary availability as increased value, even when the actual product is just regular coffee with different syrup. The psychology gets even more sophisticated when you look at the ordering process itself. Ever notice how the person taking your order always asks if you want to make it a large? Or add an extra shot? Or try the new pastry? This isn't friendly customer service. This is systematic upselling based on something called the commitment escalation principle. Once you've decided to buy something, you're psychologically primed to say yes to small additions. Your brain has already justified the expense, so adding another dollar or two feels negligible. But the real genius isn't in the ordering, it's in the waiting. Think about the last time you went to a coffee shop. How long did you wait? 5 minutes? 10? 15? During peak hours, some locations have wait times that rival sit-down restaurants. But instead of leaving, people stand there scrolling their phones, getting increasingly invested in receiving their drink. This is called the sunk cost fallacy, and coffee shops exploit it ruthlessly. The longer you wait, the more committed you become to completing the transaction. You've already invested time, you're already mentally committed, and walking away feels like losing something you've earned. Meanwhile, you're surrounded by displays of pastries, merchandise, and additional menu items, all designed to capture impulse purchases during those vulnerable waiting moments. And here's something most people never notice: the music, the lighting, the temperature, even the scent in the air. None of it is accidental. Environmental psychology research shows that certain combinations of sensory inputs make people more likely to spend money and stay longer. Warm lighting makes spaces feel more intimate and expensive items seem more justified. Moderate volume music with specific tempos influences browsing behavior and purchase decisions. Even the smell of baking pastries, often artificially enhanced, triggers hunger responses that lead to additional purchases. But we're just getting started, because the real manipulation doesn't happen when you're standing in line. It happens when you're not even thinking about coffee. It happens through loyalty programs that are specifically designed to change your behavior patterns and create dependency. It happens through mobile apps that use the same psychological triggers as gambling machines. And it happens through social media marketing that makes you feel like you're missing out on a lifestyle, not just a beverage. The loyalty program psychology is particularly insidious. On the surface, it seems like a simple reward system. Buy 10 coffees, get one free. But dig deeper and you'll find a sophisticated behavioral modification program based on variable ratio reinforcement schedules. The same psychological principles that make slot machines addictive. Here's how it works. Instead of predictable rewards, modern loyalty programs use unpredictable bonus points, surprise discounts, and limited time multipliers. Your brain releases dopamine not when you receive the reward, but when you anticipate it. So every purchase becomes a small gamble. Will this be the one that unlocks bonus points? Will there be a surprise offer? The uncertainty keeps you coming back more than any predictable reward ever could. And those mobile apps? They're not convenience tools. They're behavioral tracking devices that collect data on your purchasing patterns, location habits, and timing preferences. This information gets fed into algorithms that determine exactly when to send you push notifications, what offers to present, and how to time promotional campaigns for maximum psychological impact. The data collection goes far beyond what you might expect. These apps track how long you spend looking at different menu items, what times of day you're most likely to make impulse purchases, even how your spending patterns change based on weather, local events, or personal stress indicators gleaned from your usage patterns. But here's where the manipulation becomes truly sophisticated. All of this data gets used to create personalized psychological profiles. The app learns that you're most vulnerable to upselling on Tuesday mornings. It discovers that you're more likely to try new items when you're traveling. It identifies that you respond better to scarcity messaging than discount offers. Then it uses this information to craft individualized manipulation strategies designed specifically for your psychological weaknesses. The personalization doesn't stop there. These systems create what researchers call behavioral nudge cascades. Let's say the algorithm notices you typically order a simple black coffee on weekdays, but splurge on specialty drinks during weekends. It'll start sending you Friday afternoon notifications about weekend seasonal offerings, timed precisely when your willpower is lowest after a long work week. It knows you're transitioning from weekday discipline to weekend indulgence, and it strikes at that exact psychological moment. Even more disturbing is how these apps manipulate your sense of identity. They don't just track what you buy, they track how you want to be perceived. Order oat milk regularly? You'll get targeted messaging about sustainability and health consciousness. Always opt for the largest size? You'll see promotions that frame excessive consumption as treating yourself well. The app literally learns your insecurities and aspirations, then crafts marketing messages that make purchasing feel like self-actualization. But let's talk about something even more sinister. The social engineering aspect of modern coffee culture. Ever notice how coffee shops are designed like living rooms? Comfortable seating, warm colors, communal tables? This isn't hospitality. This is calculated space design meant to make you feel like you belong there, like you're part of some community. The community illusion is particularly powerful. Coffee shops position themselves as third spaces, somewhere between home and work, where authentic connections happen. But look around next time you're there. How many people are actually talking to strangers? How many meaningful interactions are occurring? Most people are isolated with their devices, participating in a collective loneliness that's been packaged and sold as social connection. The staff plays a crucial role in this manipulation. They're trained to remember your name, ask about your day, comment on your order choices. This isn't genuine care. This is manufactured intimacy designed to create emotional attachment to the location. When someone remembers your usual order, your brain interprets this as relationship building, even though it's just customer retention strategy. And here's something that'll really disturb you: the deliberate cultivation of addiction cycles. Not just caffeine addiction, though that's certainly part of it. Routine addiction, identity addiction, social status addiction. Coffee shops have become dealers in daily ritual, selling the illusion of sophistication, productivity, and belonging. Think about your morning routine. How much of it revolves around that coffee stop? The timing, the route, the mental anticipation? You've been conditioned to associate coffee shop visits with positive emotional states. productivity, social connection, personal reward. Remove that routine and you don't just miss the caffeine, you miss the identity validation that comes with it. The conditioning runs deeper than most people realize. Coffee shops have become associated with work culture, creative pursuits, social meetings, romantic dates, personal reflection time. They've positioned themselves as essential infrastructure for modern adult life. Not just a place to get caffeine, but a place to be the kind of person you want to be. This identity manipulation extends to the products themselves: fair trade, organic, single origin, artisanal, small batch. These aren't just product features. They're moral positioning statements that allow customers to feel good about expensive purchases. You're not just buying overpriced coffee, you're supporting ethical farming, environmental sustainability, artisan craftsmanship. The premium price becomes justified by the premium identity it provides. But here's the reality check that nobody wants to acknowledge. Most of these ethical claims are marketing theater. The supply chains are complex, the certifications are often meaningless, and the actual impact of your individual purchase on global coffee farming is essentially zero. But the feeling of moral superiority? That's real. And that feeling keeps you coming back even when your budget says you should stay home. Now let's examine the addiction maintenance system. Because once they've got you hooked on the routine, the identity, and the social ritual, they need to keep you dependent. This happens through carefully engineered tolerance building. Not just caffeine tolerance, though that's certainly part of it. Expectation tolerance. Your standard order becomes boring. The regular menu becomes predictable. So they introduce constant novelty. New flavors, seasonal rotations, limited edition collaborations, specialty brewing methods. Your brain craves novelty, and they provide just enough variation to keep the experience feeling fresh while maintaining the core addiction loop. The tolerance building extends to spending habits too. That $5 drink that once felt expensive becomes your baseline. Then they introduce $6 options, $7 specialty items, $8 seasonal exclusives. Gradually, your spending threshold increases without you even noticing. What once felt like a splurge becomes routine, and what once felt routine becomes cheap. This psychological conditioning creates what economists call lifestyle inflation, but it's not accidental inflation. It's engineered inflation, systematic desensitization to higher prices through gradual exposure and social normalization. When everyone around you is spending $8 on coffee, $8 starts feeling reasonable, but the most insidious part of the entire system is how it exploits your relationship with time and productivity. Coffee shops have positioned themselves as productivity enablers. Need to focus? Get coffee. Need energy? Get coffee. Need to feel accomplished? Reward yourself with coffee. They've inserted themselves into your workflow, your creative process, your professional identity. This creates a dependency that goes beyond chemical addiction. It's psychological scaffolding. You begin to believe you can't be productive, creative, or professional without this external ritual. Your confidence becomes tied to your consumption patterns. Your sense of capability becomes linked to your purchasing power. The dependency becomes so deeply embedded that breaking the cycle feels like losing part of your identity. And that's exactly what they want. Because once you believe you need their product to function effectively, price becomes irrelevant. Quality becomes secondary. You're not making rational purchasing decisions anymore. You're feeding a manufactured need that's been surgically inserted into your daily existence. Let's examine the withdrawal symptoms because, yes, they're real and they're not just about caffeine. Skip your usual coffee shop visit and notice what happens. There's the obvious physical discomfort from caffeine withdrawal, the headaches, the fatigue, the irritability. But there's something else, a psychological emptiness, a sense that your day hasn't properly begun. That's not caffeine talking. That's conditioned behavioral dependence. The timing of these symptoms isn't accidental either. They've studied when withdrawal hits hardest, when resolve is weakest, when alternative options seem most inconvenient. The mobile apps know exactly when to send that promotional notification. Right around the time your energy dips, right when your willpower is lowest, right when that familiar routine feels most appealing. But here's what's really twisted. The withdrawal isn't just individual, it's social. Skip the coffee shop, and you miss the ritual of belonging. The familiar faces, the predictable interactions, the sense of participating in something larger than yourself. They've made isolation the cost of financial discipline. Breaking free from the spending pattern means breaking free from the social pattern, and humans are wired to choose belonging over budgeting every single time. The social pressure gets reinforced through workplace culture too. Coffee runs become team bonding activities. Business meetings happen over expensive lattes. Professional networking occurs in coffee shops. They've embedded their product into the infrastructure of career advancement. Opting out isn't just a personal choice anymore, it's potentially a professional limitation. And let's talk about the guilt manipulation. Ever notice how coffee shops position their premium products? It's not just about quality or taste, it's about moral superiority. The fair trade messaging, the environmental consciousness, the support for small farmers. They've made expensive coffee purchases feel like charitable donations. Choosing the cheaper option becomes not just a financial decision, but a moral failing. This guilt manipulation works in reverse, too. Skip the coffee shop entirely and you're not just saving money, you're supposedly abandoning ethical responsibility, not supporting sustainable farming, not investing in community spaces. They've reframed frugality as selfishness, making financial discipline feel morally questionable. The environmental guilt is particularly sophisticated. They'll promote reusable cups while designing systems that make them inconvenient to use. They'll advertise sustainability initiatives while generating massive amounts of single-use waste. They'll position themselves as environmentally conscious while maintaining business models that depend on excessive consumption. The cognitive dissonance keeps customers feeling guilty enough to keep purchasing but not guilty enough to stop entirely. Now, let's examine the productivity mythology because this might be the most damaging manipulation of all. Coffee shops have convinced an entire generation that peak performance requires premium caffeine. That creativity flows from expensive beverages. That professional success is somehow connected to your willingness to pay 4 times market rate for stimulants. The productivity messaging is everywhere. Study spaces with Wi-Fi and outlets, work-friendly environments with long tables and power strips, marketing materials featuring laptops, notebooks, and busy professionals. They've created the illusion that important work happens in coffee shops, that successful people fuel themselves with artisanal beverages, that productivity is something you purchase rather than something you practice. But here's the reality. Caffeine is caffeine. The chemical effect is identical whether it comes from a 50-cent home-brewed cup or a $7 specialty drink. The productivity boost you feel isn't from superior ingredients. It's from the ritual, the environment, the psychological association you've been trained to make between expensive coffee and professional performance. The environmental manipulation deserves special attention too. Coffee shops spend enormous amounts of money on interior design, lighting, acoustics, and ambiance. Every element is calculated to make you feel more creative, more focused, more professionally capable. But it's not the space making you productive. It's the placebo effect of believing the space makes you productive. Strip away the manipulation and what remains? A business model that depends on creating artificial needs, manufacturing false urgencies, and exploiting psychological vulnerabilities for profit. They've taken a simple agricultural product and wrapped it in layers of identity manipulation, social engineering, and behavioral conditioning. They've turned caffeine into lifestyle branding, routine into addiction, and consumption into community. So here's your wake-up call. Every time you hand over that $7, you're not buying coffee. You're buying into a system designed to make you dependent, financially drained, and psychologically manipulated. The next time you feel that urge, that compulsion, that manufactured need, remember what you've learned here. Your wallet, your time, and your mental freedom are worth more than their perfectly engineered illusion. Break the cycle. Your future self will thank you.